So is
Just
there an initial?
Yes, sorry. Good afternoon. Welcome to this webcast organized by Group on Development of Rural Economy. And today we are having a very interesting topic, that is Viksit Bharat at 2047 through the lens of agriculture and rural development. And we have a very eminent speaker for today, Dr. Sulakshana Rao, who will be speaking for next 1.5 hours on this particular subject. And we are privileged that we are joined by our deputy convener for this group, CA Hansraj Chugh sir. So I'll invite CA Hansraj Chugh sir to give his opening remarks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Nikhilji. I welcome Dr. Sulakshana Rao, the expert into the rural sector, more particularly the agriculture and the rural economy. Today, you see, the India has already stepped into moving towards the Viksit Bharat or the developed nation. If we really understand the past history of the India's growth, started from the agriculture economy and moved towards the naturally integrated with the industrial economy and the service sector also. Now, if we talk about the growth does not happen with one particular aspect. It carries integration of many other aspects. And fortunately, at the ICI, we have a very resource around. Today, Sulakshana ji is taking us through the different mode to understand the agriculture sector and the rural economy. India's most of the population or the substantial people reside in the rural sector. The urban and the rural, if we integrate and we bring out the best for the country, so we have many ways and the means by which we can develop by 2047 as one of the developed nation in the whole system of the world. With these initial remarks, I welcome each and every participants. I welcome our the speaker of the day, Dr. Sulakshana Rao ji, and the team at the secretariat. Today could not join us, Pankaj Bhai, taking care of this group to be explored in the of the manners for taking forward the growth of the rural economy. And without the involvement of the, I'm really thankful to the convener also for taking us. Our roots, my particularly, if we talk about, my roots are also from the rural sector. I'm born and brought up in a village. So that really gives me an inspiration. The aspects we have to look forward, the way we have to move to develop the country through the segments of the rural sector also. So I welcome each and every participants. I welcome our honorable guest speaker of the day. I'm really grateful and thankful to the whole of the secretariat also, those who always been keen and the proactive to bring out best for the members. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I'll invite Dr. Sulakshana Rao to kindly start his presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you, Hansraj ji, for your special interest on the rural development and also the agriculture. As you rightly said, agriculture is one key component when we speak about transforming to Viksit Bharat at 2047, 100 years of our independence. And congratulations to ICAI for organizing these lectures on very relevant topic. Agriculture has been feeding the 1.46 billion people of our country. And India is the country which we should be proud of, that even after feeding 1.46 billion, we are able to have a good amount of agricultural exports to different countries. That means we are feeding other countries also. And by 2030, in terms of agricultural exports, we have kept a target of 100 billion exports by 2030. And given, the tariff situations changing, and we just signed a free trade agreement with UK, we hope that, this journey moves together and we will be able to achieve our 100 billion export target also, while ensuring the food security of our own people. So yes, thank you all of you, and I would like to share my screen. Yes. I hope this is the screen is visible and I'm audible. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for confirming. So yes, good evening, everyone. So today we are discussing about Viksit Bharat at 2047, which is all our dream through the lens of agriculture and rural development. And I am Sulakshana Rao, Senior Fellow in Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relations. So about ICRIER, we are a policy think tank which is based here in New Delhi. And we established in 1981 with eminent economists, Manmohan Singh, were all part of our team, one of the founding members here. And currently, we research on different thrust areas. One is growth, employment, macroeconomics. There is TIER, which discusses on trade, investment, and external relations. I am part of this agricultural group, agricultural policy, sustainability, and innovation. We call ourselves APSI. Then we also have a digital economy, startups and innovation group, and climate, urbanization, and sustainability group. So this is about ICRIER, and I am an agricultural economist. I did my undergraduate in agriculture and then moved towards agricultural economics, specialized in natural resource economics, and I did my master's from Punjab Agricultural University and PhD from Indian Council of Agricultural Research. So we are going to discuss our topic in three broad topics today. First, I'll be discussing the agricultural landscape. Where are we currently? What is the status? What are the challenges that we are facing, and what are the opportunities? And how do we reach this, 2047 goals or 2050 goals? And then we discuss about Viksit Bharat at 2047. What is the vision of the country? What is the vision for agriculture and rural development? What are the policy reforms that have been happening, and what is the road ahead? What more we need to, do to reach this, to be a Viksit Bharat by 2047? And lastly, I'd be touching upon the role of, chartered accountants as professionals, how we all can contribute to agriculture and rural development, as well as the transformation of the country, which is, at a very crucial stage right now. India is at a rare, inflection point where global opportunities are coming to us. So we'll be discussing on these aspects. So without further delay, I would like to take you through, sorry, just a second. Yeah. So without further ado, I would like to begin by giving you an overview about the agricultural sector of India. So this sector feeds 1.46 billion people of our country. And initially in the 1950s, agriculture contributed 50% to our gross value added. And currently we are contributing, agriculture is contributing 17%. So this particular graph shows the deviation. The one in blue shows the agriculture, contribution of agriculture and allied sector to the gross value added at the current prices. You can see from 2011-12, the divergence is going away. That means the non-agricultural sector or our shift to services or industry manufacturing is happening better, and less people are not less people, but agriculture, we have improved our efficiencies, what we can say. So agriculture is growing, but it is deviating. More services and all non-agricultural factors are also coming up in our GDP. But when it comes to employment, almost, the recent periodic labor force survey showed that almost 46% of our total workforce is engaged in agriculture, and it is the number one employment in our country. Second comes the textile, and first is the agriculture. So the primary sector is what employs mostly the total workforce which is there in India. And with this, currently we have, in the 1960s, immediately, after the independence, we were, ship to mouth kind of an economy. We had a huge, deficit in terms of food grains. And then the green revolution happened. From subsistence, we went to technology based and, high yielding varieties based farming. And currently we are producing, 329.7 million metric tons in the year 22-23. And now it is almost 336 from a mere 50.8 million metric tons. So the technology, the innovations, the policies all have helped us in reaching where we are today to feed our own people and also ensuring food security outside our country to the whole global world. So this is a very commendable job by our own farmers. And this record food grain production is one thing. Besides that, India is also, the largest producer of milk, the largest producer of pulses, spices, jute, all these, and second largest in terms of rice, wheat, fruits and vegetables. In certain fruits like, banana and mango, India is the topmost producer. And in case of fish and egg production, it is the third largest. So we have so many, flying caps to our own hat. And not just in production, it also helps in employing and ensuring the livelihood security of, more than 60% of the rural household. So if agricultural transforms, if agricultural grows, certainly there will be rural development, certainly there will be augmenting the incomes of the rural population and also the farmers of our country. And this is a sign also, decline from 1993, where we were 50%, there was rural poverty. Currently, we are at 25%. This is, partially attributable to agriculture, which is a major source of, income in these rural areas. Besides this, besides directly contributing to the food system, it also indirectly provides raw materials to the agro-based industries. For example, textile, cotton. India has been, a major cotton producer, and we used to export cotton also. So it contributes to textile sector. Sugarcane provides to the sugar industry and also to the food processing. Wheat and all these, contributes to the food processing, also the dairy that comes in. All this contributes indirectly to the agro-based industries as well. So this drives a rural demand. There is a forward and backward, the fast-moving consumer goods have come up, and housing materials, all of these, the demand for agriculture as a raw material has been growing. And agriculture, for one, during the COVID, we saw that agriculture was the only sector which grew at 3.6 positive growth rate. 3.6% we grew. Hats off to our farmers, to buffer that macroeconomic shock. And through the, FCI and through our buffer stock, we were able to feed the entire nation when the, whole global crisis or pandemic was happening. So these are certain, major attributes of Indian agriculture. Now, I would like to discuss in the coming 2 slides about where we are and what is our midterm target by 2030, let's say in another 5 years, and by 2047, 100 years of our independence, where we should be. And this is benchmarked to the globally, renowned countries who are doing good. So this is a compilation from Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare reports. And in terms of share in global agriculture and allied exports, currently we are 2.4%. Definitely, we have a huge population, but other countries, Brazil and all, the population is less. So they are able to, export much, much higher than us. But we intend to increase our share to 10% of the global exports by the year 2047. And by 2030, as I told you, 100 billion is our agri-export target. And EU, the 27 countries which are associated, and USA, all these, have 9.6% share in the global exports. And when it comes to milk production, the Amul revolution, the cooperative story, which I'll be discussing later also, has been immensely successful, as shown by, and India is the top producer of milk. 230.58 million metric tons have been produced by India. But when it comes to export, India is only less than 1% of the global market share. And in terms of agricultural and processed food exports, it is 8th. Value addition is less. And when it comes to horticultural production, especially the fruits and vegetables, which we say, are very important to augment the farmer's income, high yielding fruit, high value fruits and vegetable, we have a good production around 351.9 million metric ton, and that has to be immensely increased to around 1,000. That means our share of food grains or basic cereal has to go down, and because the area is limited, this has to go down, and the horticultural production, high value production should go up to fruits, vegetables, all these that yield much better price and profitability in the market. So that is a huge aim, almost more than double we have to go to reach that. And policies are in a way aligned to this particular goal that we have. And rice, when it comes to, we know that we have although we say that we must move away, we should diversify from food grains. But even this year, the recent report just a month ago came that, India's rice paddy area has increased. So that again is an interesting, feature. So we need to reduce that area. How can we do that? By enhancing our yield. So currently our rice yield is 4, maybe in Punjab or Haryana, maybe 5 or 6. But even then, the sustainability issues, the soil health issues are coming up. But globally, if you see, Japan has 7, metric tons of yield, and China has almost 7. So all of them have high yielding varieties, and also the GM crops are there. So India also intends to increase its rice yield by 6, and also wheat yield. Also wheat, we have a good yield that way, which is comparable to the global benchmarks. And coming to other allied sectors, in fish production, we are at 16 million metric tons, and we intend to go by 40%, especially from the export point of view. If I tell you shrimps, when the US tariffs issue came up, wherein the reciprocal tariff issue had come up, many of the farmers in Andhra were worried because shrimp majorly goes from there. India's major export item to US market is shrimp, and almost 4 billion USD value of shrimp goes from India to US every year, and that too Andhra is a major supplier to there. So that was a major question. So fish, we majorly export, and huge revenue we gather from there, and hope the situation by August 1st we'll be able to know what happens to the tariff with US and also to the shrimp. So with respect to the fertilizer part, the NPK ratio, which is the usage of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, so that is almost kind of misaligned to what the standards are. So currently you can see nitrogen is immensely overused or over applied, and because of that nitrification happens, leaching happens, and because of that the soil health is affected, and in turn the plant health is affected, and ultimately what goes inside the humans, human nutrition is affected by it. So these are certain. And again, the post-harvest losses. So there are two losses. One is the post-harvest loss, and one is the food waste that we say. So in developed countries, the food wastage of food is on a similar terms. But in India, we have a supply chain issue, the value chain issue, wherein currently we have up to 15% post-harvest losses, be it cereals, be it fresh perishable fruits and varieties. 15% loss is huge loss in terms of monetary, as well as given the limited area, that's a huge amount. So that we intend to bring down to 6% through robust value chains, through agricultural value chains, which are catering to the supply chain needs of both farmers as well as the retailers. And mechanization is another part which we need to move up, because India has majority, less than 1 hectare is our average holding size, and most of them are small and marginal farmers. So farm mechanization, which is suitable to these small land holding, is very pertinent in case of India. And we also need to move up to value addition to what we are producing in order to reach the global standards. So, countries like Italy or New Zealand have good, processing facilities, especially when it comes to dairy. And dairy, although we are the major milk producers, but there are, technical barriers to trade, what we call as, certain standards due to foot and mouth disease in our cattle. The EU and the US are, not ready to purchase our milk products. So this actually affects. So the discussions are going on to, kind of take this away. And you might have even seen that, dairy is kept away from the India and UK FTA, not because of this, but to protect the, welfare of the small marginal dairy farmers who are there in our country. So these are the major indicators that we need to focus on. This is just to give you a basic idea of what we deal in agriculture, especially the number, especially the quantifiable indicators, which I'm sure is of interest to the audits. So now we discuss about the cross-sectoral linkages of agriculture. So agriculture is also linked to industry. It provides raw material like cotton to the textile sector and to food processing sector, especially food preparations, which is a major import item by much of the developed nation. There we need to work, and Ministry of Food Processing Industry is coming up with different schemes and different infrastructure to ensure that high value products, especially the clusters that we have of fruits and vegetable, are exported to these countries, thereby helping our farmers to gain much more higher income. So there is also linkages with services. We need agricultural financing, so there's a credit flow required. Credit is a major issue in our country. Kisan credit card scheme is going on. So, this FY 24, 18.5 lakh crore in agricultural credit flow is targeted. And also the agricultural insurance, especially, given the changing climate scenario. We have Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, which is, kind of a pioneering insurance, biggest in the world insurance scheme, which covers 36 million farmers. But even then, only 20% of our small and marginal farmers are actually covered in this. So that is something we need to work on, how to include them in this insurance system. What incentives need to be provided to them, or what are their challenges? We need to understand that. And for that, a 9,000 crore premium is paid, and from the government, 14,000 crore is the central contribution to the PMFBY scheme, which we'll discuss later. Third comes the agri-logistic and cold chain. So agriculture mostly caters to the perishable commodities. So we need cold storage facilities, and we need proper, standard operating practices, which we call, in order to ensure that the storage or the shelf life of particular, especially when it comes to fruits like banana or mango, which are exported, and potatoes, for example. Potato is using the most of the cold chain facilities, and potato is a growing market, especially the French fries and chips, which are there, are highly demanded in different countries. So we need to have this robust logistic chain in order to ensure that our exports are happening, and also at good quality. Then we also have the environment and sustainability link. So if we look at the One Health approach, wherein we see everything as one, the impact of soil health on plant health, and then on human health, and also on the health of environment. So agriculture sector uses 80% of the fresh water for irrigation. So certain states, as we all know, give power subsidies also, which is indirectly kind of water, because they use the power to pump water from the ground. So groundwater depletion is happening in the northwestern part of our country, especially Punjab, Haryana, wherein rice is major water guzzling crop. And over 55% of the land area in our country is specifically focused on agriculture. 320 lakh hectare is being used. And we also provide subsidies, till now, as have been discussed. Across the years, we were, kind of providing subsidies. It has been a subsidy, and it has been mostly aligned to or heavily aligned to the cereals and food grain, because that was our requirement at that time. Ship to mouth economy we were, and from then we were giving fertilizer subsidy in order to ensure that the yields are better. But now it has gone in such a way that, as discussed in the previous slide, the fertilizer ratio, the overuse of fertilizer is happening. So what can be other opportunity to ensure? And this actually affects the environment. Nitrogen, as I told you, the leaching happens, nitrification, and N2O, nitrous oxide, has much more, 300 times more, influence than carbon dioxide and greenhouse gas, in harming the environment. So the emerging opportunities when it comes to agriculture also is bioeconomy. So it's like a linkage between the bio as the center of the economy, and in that agriculture has a major role to play, because agriculture has a lot of uh, you know opportunities. For example, the ethanol production, corn and other food grains have been used in bioethanol production, which then is actually blended with petrol to have a 20% blending is permitted in with petrol by bioethanol. And that not just actually saves our crude oil import, but it also actually contributes to greenhouse gas saving and also to the environment which is there. So this are certain cross-sectoral interlinkages if we look at agriculture, not just from the food security point of view, but with other sectors and economy as a whole together. So if we look at the transformation of our agriculture in the 60s, immediately after the independence, the major transformation came from Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh, which became the food bowl of our nation. And the Green Revolution happened in the 60s and 70s. M.S. Swaminathan was a key player in that, father of Green Revolution in India. And the introduction of high yielding varieties happened in wheat and rice, and that helped us to kind of increase our yields and production of the basic food grains which are required for food security. And because these were high yielding varieties, what required was irrigation, watering the crops, and also higher use of chemical fertilizer and pesticides which were there, and also the expansion of irrigation fertilizers. And the government also backed through the minimum support price and by public procurement mechanism, which is continuing even right now. And because of that, the wheat production rose from 10 million metric ton at that time to 112 million metric ton in 22-23. And right now we have immense, food production, food grain production, food production as a whole as well, to feed the 146 billion people that we are today. So not just a green revolution, there has been white revolution when it comes to milk. Sri Varghese Kurian and Operation Flood, this movement helped, which happened in the 1970 to 80s. It helped in increasing our milk production to currently 230.6 million metric ton from 17 million metric ton in 1950-51. And our availability of milk, per capita availability of milk, is really good in India in comparison to other global nations. And then comes the blue revolution in terms of allied sectors, fisheries sector, and we are the third largest producer of fish globally and the largest producer of inland fish. And fisheries sector is growing at an 8% CAGR in the last 5 years. And also, as I told you, the shrimps have been a major source of our export earnings and also nutrition when it comes to domestic. So this is the overview of what has been the status of agriculture from the Indian perspective. Now we look from the futuristic perspective of Viksit Bharat at 2047. What is the core dimension? What are our key vision? What are our key aspiration, especially for agriculture? What are the challenges which are hindering that, or the structural bottlenecks, we could say? And what policies we could think of. And I have also tried to include certain success stories of different, companies which are working in and around India in agriculture, which shows that we can do it, and, certain policy nudges are required. So coming to Viksit Bharat at 2047, so this is India's long-term plan to emerge as a developed nation by 2047. So the core dimensions include economic growth, social progress, environmental sustainability, good governance. All these are the different dimensions that are associated. And as PM Modi said, the four pillars would be Yuva, the youth, the Garib, the Mahila, and Kisan. So we will be discussing about the Kisan today, and also the Yuva, Mahila, all this together, young farmers as well, and how we could kind of help the farmers also grow along with the country. So if although we have spoken about the production of food grains and how we are the top producers of certain commodities, even then if you look at the monthly income of our farmers, it is around 12,000 per annum, right? So that is a very you know what to say, it's a household income that comes in, and which is very disheartening to see. So at least we need to double that particular income so that they also can afford to have a better quality of life and standard of living. And so with that, the key aspiration in terms of agriculture, keeping the farmers in the center, is India being a global agricultural leader as a top tier. As we discussed that India is already self-sufficient in its food production, but what we need now is to kind of be an export leader as well. And currently we are at 2.8% in the agricultural export share in the market, and we envision to reach at least 10%, more than 10% in global agri and allied exports. And then prosperous farmers, at least 5 times growth in farmers' income from 12,000, which is there, that could happen through productivity gains, through market integration, by collectivization and value addition. So if we look at the farmers now, the agri supply chain also is quite fragmented. We are too dispersed. Farmers have much smaller average land holding size. So how can we integrate all this? How can we institutionalize this is what we are going to look into. And then to diversified livelihood. So currently, 46% of the rural workforce is dependent on agriculture. That needs to gradually shift. And rural sector, more than 70% of the rural sector by 2047 should be into non-farm, should be into, let's say, textiles or construction, all the other industrial part that comes into. Then comes the quality of life, wherein we need to have reduced poverty, which we are coming down in terms of multidimensional poverty index. But we also need to have amenities, modern amenities in the rural regions, and also sustainability. Even the countries, India altogether has agreed to be a net zero by 2070 at the COP26. PM Modi have taken that vow. And also, when it comes to export, many of the countries, especially the EU, is very particular about the sustainability. The corporate sustainability due diligence directive is coming by the year 2029. And being a supplier, India will have to, kind of stringently stick to that sustainability part, the circularity part. And we need to be, kind of aware about all these things right now in order to be able to provide, in order to supply that by 2029. And as the geopolitical, situations are turning, India is at a good position right now. Even with US, we had a free trade agreement with UK yesterday. So all these places we have good kind of positions and opportunities to tap into. And in Indian agriculture, there is huge untapped potential that we have. So now we discuss about we spoke about what our vision is. Now we speak about what the challenges are. Just a starting point that, our productivity, as we discuss, is very low compared to the global benchmark, be it rice. Wheat, at least we are in the similar range, but when it comes to rice, or be it cotton, cotton, for one example, our yield is 432 kilograms per hectare, but Brazil, for example, is more than 2000 kilogram per hectare. So these countries, that's a huge gap in our. So, one reason was the BT cotton technology, which is not being upgraded. So that is one part. Then comes to the weak competitiveness in terms of export readiness. So like I told you, fragmented supply chain is happening. And also in certain cases, especially, fruits, the domestic market is also very high, and domestic market is uh, flourishing there. So farmers actually pool a bit of their produce here. And for global standards, for global exports, we do not have the post harvest system machineries to actually ensure that we have a global standing, assuring cost competitiveness. Then the monoculture issues, as we know, in Punjab, Haryana, all these, rice belts that we have, the over reliance on rice and wheat system led to nutritional imbalance, poor soil health, salinity, and environmental degradation that is happening. And also we know crop residue burning in every, November. Delhi especially is a kind of sufferer of that. The residue burning happens, the pollution associated with that happens. And then comes, climate vulnerability, changing climate, how this affects the agriculture, and insurance plays a major role here. Then comes stagnant income. As I told you, 12,000 is the rural household income when it comes to agriculture. And quality of life is one particular thing that we need to bring up. So, with these challenges, now I am bringing you with certain visions, a new horizon for agriculture and rural development. And for the Viksit Bharat 2047, I've categorized them into 5 different categories. One should be, our aim should be to build a resilient, Atmanirbhar and globally competitive agricultural economy while ensuring it is inclusive, the quality of life, and also rural development, because 46% lies in the rural uh, economy. So the first part would be enhancing productivity and global competitiveness. Second is crop diversification. Third is sustainable and climate resilient agriculture. And fourth is augmenting farmers' income and also the livelihood security. And then comes improving the standard of life in rural areas. So these are the different categorizations of Viksit Bharat from agriculture and rural development point of view. Now we look into how do we do that in every. So first we begin with enhancing productivity and global competitiveness. So for this, the government is currently looking into promoting the cluster-based production system along with integrated and robust value chain, which are sustainable. And then comes technology adoption, to increase the yield, to come up with better varieties, to come up with better nutrition. We need to have, speed breeding technologies and biofortification, which is, kind of biological enhancement. Like in salt, we used to have iodine enriched one. So similarly, in rice, we have zinc enriched or biofortified rice, which is coming. Similarly, other, grains as well. Then attract private investment, especially when it comes to agriculture. Most of the investments have been public investment. And we also need to have, especially when it comes to export infrastructure, cold chain infrastructure, we need to have private investments, PPP, all of these. And agriculture infrastructure fund is one such step in the right direction, which we'll be discussing in the next slides. And we also need to boost export of high value products. And for this, what we need is traceability and gap certification. Gap is, kind of good agricultural practices certification. And this is very important for, markets like EU, traceability, and especially where the product comes from, which field it comes from. That is what we call the traceability aspect. And then, the PPP, public-private partnership model to modernize storage, transport, and logistics. So first we discuss about cluster development program. I'll be giving you examples of what has been happening. So the clusters, there has been 12 pilots which are launched by the central sector scheme in order to have a geographical specialization of horticultural clusters. And what happens is, in these clusters we'll have the hub and spoke model, just like in Amul. So there will be a hub which is there, wherein all the post harvest, logistic, branding, all this will be provided, and spokes from different districts in and around that particular cluster will come and, kind of collectivize their products there. And from that point, it can be exported or sent to different. So this is the concept of cluster, especially in horticultural value chains. And there are, in across 11 states, there are 12 clusters which are to be piloted. As you can see, for apples, we have Shopian, and in Himachal, we have Kinnaur, and mango, Malihabad and Lucknow. Again, grapes in Nasik, pomegranate in Solapur, and Chitradurg, Anantapur for bananas. And all these are different clusters which are there. And focusing on this, we have almost 10,000 crores of investment in cluster development program, and with 6,700 crores of private investment there. And 8 million metric tons of product would be handled, and the cluster brands would be developed with the help of National Cooperative Export Limited. And by bringing this all together in one particular cluster or the hub, it is easier to kind of export that, or to take it away to wherever the markets want to bring. So this is a kind of pioneering clusters that is coming up in the central sector scheme. And this is, kind of envisioned to enhance our exports as well as better our value chains which are there. So this is the cluster development program. Then there is the agriculture infrastructure fund. So whenever we speak about the production, comes also the infrastructure which is there. So these are all intertwined. The policies are all intertwined. For cluster, you also need the infrastructure. So for that, we have Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, which is a financing facility. By 2020, it came especially for the post-harvest management. There are loans which are provided of up to 2 crores with 3% per annum of interest for a maximum of 7 period. And each project will be, kind of eligible for a loan for up to 2 crores. So this is another, fund or policy aspect which is aligned to the Viksit Bharat. And then comes the collectivization part, wherein the FPOs or the farmer producer organizations have a major role to play. So this is launched in the year 2020 with 6,865 crores of central sector scheme. And by 27-28, we intend to have 10,000 FPOs produced, or have a collective gathering of that. And this actually helps in kind of integrating, just like the Amul model, wherein we have the cooperative success story, wherein all the farmers, even with one cow, the farmer used to bring the milk, and then all of that to be pooled and then kind of processed into one. So this, again, FPOs will be a very major important element in our value chains to integrate all the produce. And in this particular part, for financial management, for audit, for financial advisory, for capacity building, and also for compliance, the CAs will have a major role to play in this. And the success here is about the 3-tier structure, wherein the direct farmer payment happens. The margin or the markups which are there for the farmers are much higher. Plus, just like Amul, we'll have a brand building for India, brand Bharat, we can say, and also the value addition happens. And all of this happens together in one place when, different farmers collectivize to or institutionalize to produce it. So this is one of the thing, and ultimately it ends up in brand Bharat. So one example is of an institution is the National Cooperative Exports Limited. So this will include not just agriculture, but also textiles, dairy, and other cooperatives which come together. And what they will act as, through different identified embassies and through different parts of value chain. So they will connect them with the buyers, and from G2G transactions, and they identify the exportable products and ensure that the production is happening in the clusters. And they will connect it with the right market contacts and ensure the export capacity. So this is a scheme, again, which is aligned to the 3 things that we discussed. And yes, so next we go to the signs. So when it comes to productivity enhancement, this role of science, technology, and innovation is huge. So India has been working on it, and India has been investing on genomics, especially the speed breeding technology and IVF, especially in terms of dairy, and also climate resilient seeds. So around 108 climate resilient varieties were released by Honorable PM last year in Indian Council of Agricultural Research. And besides that, technology in terms of digital public infrastructure, wherein we use AI for agricultural advisories and logistic has been, coming up, and India has been a pioneer in that. DPIs India has been pioneering. Even in the G20, India was a leader in that in the 2023. So I have categorized this. One comes the speed breeding. So this is actually in the International Rice Research Institute at their Varanasi center. There is a speed breeding center where you can say through the light and photo part, they reduce the time for developing a variety. So this is called the rapid generation advanced technology for reducing time of the crop cycle and ensuring that, in the controlled polyhouses, the harvest happens better. So this is the speed breeding facility, which will help us in reducing our crop cycle. Second comes the R&D, especially for the farm machinery. So India is the largest tractor market in the world. And also, we are also working towards increasing the power availability. And technology like drones have been coming up, wherein, to give precision agriculture. That means, the particular crop which has a pest attack or a disease attack, right exactly at that point, precisely we provide the herbicides or the pesticide which are there. So this is the innovations which are happening, the technology upgradation. And we also have certain cases wherein companies, Ninja Cart is one example, which is the largest tech company revolutionizing it. So these are, kind of providing robust supply chain, and they connect almost 800,000 8 lakh farmers and also 500 around FPOs. They bring together and ensure that their produce is getting good supply chain or cold storage facilities, whatever logistic facility that they require. And also they have a link with the retailers and, kind of guaranteeing retailers that, okay, you will get these produce at the right time in the right quality because of our, robust technology aspect. And also they are building the commerce and finance part as a fulfillment solution to make sure that agricultural value chain financing is in the right order. Next, we have a central scheme of AgriStack, which is, kind of a game changer, going to be a kind of a game changer. And this is the DPI I was speaking about, the digital public infrastructure. So till now, whenever the crop production or, the farmer interface used to be, the states used to feed in and to the center, and the center used to compile it to the proper data point in the Ministry of Agricultural website. But this is an automated, centralized digital framework that has been released by the Government of India to unify the agricultural data, be it, the production part or the services or the targeted solutions which are coming. So all these three parts, farmer and farmer plot registries, we can exactly know based on the GPS where the farmer plot is located, whose farmer plot it is, and unified farmer service interface. So this helps us in triangulation of different data sources. So right now, you have different schemes, especially the fertilizer part rights with the Ministry of, the chemicals which is there, and direct income support is given by agriculture. So all these need to be brought together because ultimately the beneficiary is the farmer, and this helps in improving the government benefits scheme delivery so that it can reach the farmers better way. Also the tenant farmers who are there who do not have a registry as of now, and this reduces the kind of time that is required, and also it actually digitalizes and adds up to an identification or authentication of the person who is receiving the benefits. So transparency is brought in, and also the different data points are all compiled to one digital solution. So this is actually the DPI we are speaking about. Second part, so this was about enhancing productivity and global competitiveness and how the government is envisioning it, how are we going to do it, all this. And next we come to the crop diversification, which is the second part through which we are reaching the, envisioning the Viksit Bharat. So right now we know the policies have been kind of leaning towards the food grains, rice and wheat, be it the public procurement, which even happens right now. So now we need to have a crop diversification. So what can come up is high, especially the horticultural crops, fruits, vegetable. Another idea which ICRIER also is currently working on is solar as a third crop. So on your right hand side, you can see images wherein, the floriculture, the flowers are grown just beneath the photovoltaic cells. So this is like solar agri-photovoltaic being a third crop. So below the photovoltaic sheet, you can grow the crops. So the upper energy part is actually assured income, less risky, and it acts as an insurance as such. And with this, there has been pilots which are going on as shown in the map across India. Even ICRIER is doing a pilot in different states of our country, and it is adding immense income. Around 1.4 lakh is added to the farmer who has the land, because farmers have the majority of land in our country, and this is assured income. And all we need is to mount the agri photovoltaic, and this technology, it will revolutionize, because this is assured income, and it will quickly, the 5 times augmenting farmers income can be done by this if adopted quickly and efficiently. So this is another part of crop diversification, solar as the third crop. And then we speak about Atmanirbharta, self-reliance in food, feed, and fuel as well. So for that, the integrated farming system, one example is the rice fish system. So this helps in sustainability, especially in the salinity prone areas. In Kerala, especially, we have salinity prone areas wherein, fish is grown along with the rice, and the yield of both adds to the income of the farmers and also the productivity of that particular piece of land. And then comes Annadata as Urja Data when we speak about the fuel part. So maize, sugarcane, all the food grains have been used to blend to produce ethanol, which is then blended with petrol, and this reduces our crude oil import, as well as it helps in making it more sustainable. And then comes the role of millets. Millets, especially when it comes to climate change, millets are actually, why millets matter is because they are climate resilient. They can grow in arid regions, be it Rajasthan or certain parts of Tamil Nadu. So right now, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu are major producers of millets in India. And it's a nutritional powerhouse, rich in iron, calcium, it has a low glycemic index. So these are the different millets which are there. And also they are sustainable, and also supports the food security and nutrition. India has been a major frontier in this. India nominate kind of proposed that international year of millets happens, and then the UN agreed to it, and then we had the international year of millets in the year 2023. They are not just crops, they are solutions for hunger, health, and also the environment. But in India, even globally, although globally 35% of the millet production is by India, but still the production is low compared to food grains. One part is assured, even in the PDS, even in our NFSA, we provide rice and wheat, which are food grains. Why, we do not provide that platform for millets. So hence the consumer preferences are different, and also rice and wheat have been historically promoted by MSP and also the public distribution system. Plus, because of this, there is a lack of R&D. The Indian Institute of Millet Research back there down there in Hyderabad is working on developing technologies wherein millets can be infused into cookies or pasta, all of that. And we also need to have a market linkage to ensure that millet production happens and income is earned by the farmers. And there is a low awareness altogether. Right now it is growing in India, but it also need to come up, like quinoa came up altogether world as a healthy alternative. Why can't millets come up? So more awareness is required. and policies are need to be put towards this. So in India, from the policy perspective, India came up with the G20 millets and other ancient grain research and awareness initiative that came in the year 2023, wherein the G20 countries adopted this particular initiative for growing millets. So yeah, this is about the millets. And now we come to the value chains when it comes. So here is where the agri startups and value chain are another aspect of bringing technology and all this together, wherein we need to aggregate the farm produce processing and farm post-harvest management. So these are focused on staples currently, but we need to have it for other high value crops as well. So fish, for one example, is a case wherein from the time you harvest it, you need to have a cold storage, and yet we are the highest exporter. Around 4 billion shrimps we are exporting to US. So we have cracked it there. The value chain has been cracked in there, wherein the produce is in sub-zero temperature. Fruits and vegetable need maybe 5-6 degrees or 10 degrees. So why can't we provide that? Certain companies or startups are doing that. Dehat is one example. Ninja as we discussed, which compiles different FPOs. Waycool also does that. And in case of meat, you have Fresh to Home and Licious, which are known domestically as well, which provide fresh to home delivery. So these have happened, but what we need is scaling up. So these are cases wherein 8 lakh farmers are involved, 500 FPOs are involved, maybe in certain regions, but we also need to scale it up all across India, wherein almost 70% where we have small marginal farmers. And also another part is the access to quality inputs that we have: seeds, fertilizers, or pesticides, or cattle feed. All this is a major aspect, and also the credit to be enabled. KCC is there, Kisan Credit Card Scheme, which is there for agriculture, and also the fintech part wherein the value chain financing comes up. So there we need to have public-private partnership wherein infrastructure fund is there, but it needs to come up. And also the access to data and advisory, wherein Cropin and Satsure have technology wherein the farmers are able to get the real-time data, real-time environmental aspect, the weather condition, the soil condition on their fingertips. So coming to the ethanol blending program, the bioeconomy that we discussed. So this has a transformative potential when it comes to diversification, which we are discussing right now. And government has set a target of 15%, 20% blending by the year 2025. And in this, almost all the feedstocks for ethanol production, be it sugarcane molasses or even the rotten food like FCI broken rice, can be used here. And this will help us not only to use our additional or extra or rotten biomass, which is sub part of the production, but also it will help us to kind of have a sustainable kind of fuel in our country. So in terms of bioeconomy, we need to have a tailored approach to ensure that we balance both food security as nutrition, because in the last slide we saw the things, rice and all, the maize, all these are also, part of food security as well. So how do we ensure that there is a balance between food security and also, kind of transforming the agriculture to a bioeconomy, or annadata to urja data kind of thing. So for this, we need to have a targeted approach, especially the regions with high productivity, can be reserved for food crops, especially the safeguarding the food security, while less fertile areas may be, tried and piloted for the bioeconomy. Then incentivization needs to be happening for bio-based production, and also we need to have precision agriculture, which ensures that yield is not compromised, because either way it's a trade-off. Food security versus the fuel part comes in. So next we come to the third part, which is about building sustainable and climate resilient agriculture. So in this, schemes have been happening. The government movement has been towards natural farming and biofertilizers and organic input. And also there comes the strengthening carbon credit market. So India has come up with a framework for voluntary carbon market in agriculture. Additionally, the Ministry of Agriculture also provides green credit to, agricultural practices that are climate positive or which help in uh, ensuring sustainability. And for this, the carbon credit is like it's 1 ton of carbon which is reduced, avoided, or removed due to a particular practice. And then companies will use tradable certificate to offset emission that they have been emitting beyond the limit which is there. And they offset their carbon footprint by purchasing these credit. And based on that, some farmer producer organization which are doing agriculture, let's say, through alternating wetting and drying method in rice, which is a carbon saving method. So they can actually, kind of ensure that credits are being sold, purchased by the company, and farmers are paid for it. So next we come to the digital part, wherein the market access and integration plays a role. So ENAM, as we know, the electronic national agricultural market is there, but what we now need is integrating that to an e-commerce system, because India is now all about e-commerce and kind of within few minutes we have the delivery. So the government need to connect these 1389 mandis, which are part of the yards, which are part of ENAM, across the country through the integration. This, one example is one FPO from Maharashtra. They had to source spices in their own district, and they even went back to Guntur in Andhra Pradesh to meet the consumers' demand, and the opportunity was utilized through SFSC enabled FPOs to join the ONDC platform, wherein they could buy this surplus chili which were produced in another state which is there. So this will actually help in not ensuring that the balanced demand supply is happening across the Indian states and country as a whole. And this is a feasibility study which is going on right now, and which will be taken forward. Next, we move on to the governance part, wherein, in terms of not just agriculture, but also the rural development part, wherein panchayats will play a major role in ensuring that, the governance reform happens. Bhu Aadhar is one part wherein, a 14-digit ID is given to the piece of land for each land parcel. And there is an international standard compliance which is happening, and it is based on geo-referenced cadastral map. So all this will actually ensure in triangulating the different data sets across different. So this actually lies with the Ministry of Rural Development. The agriculture direct income support lies in the hands of Ministry of Agriculture. The fertilizer subsidy lies with the Ministry of petrochemicals, that way. So all these can be integrated once you have proper digital identity and land parcel are marked. So next we speak about the equity part, ensuring the inclusion and continuity which is there. So portability of entitlements was one major game changer that came in. So in between, two of the migrant workers who had come to Delhi for work had lost their lives due to lack of ration, that they were unable to transfer it to here. And then we had the one nation, one ration card phenomena, which is especially, beneficial for, the NFSA beneficiaries who move across different states to work, migrant laborers especially. So this allows all the NFSA beneficiary, the Food Security Act beneficiaries, around 800 million are there. Particularly the migrant people, to claim the part of their food grain from any fair price shops which are in the state that they work in. So this is a game changer to ensure that labor movement happens seamlessly, and to ensure that the growth is inclusive, that every part is every part of our country is have a food safety monitoring which is happening. So these are certain schemes which have helped in ensuring equity, inclusion, and continuity. Now, when it comes to agriculture, we have major public schemes which are there. We have the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi of 60,000 crore budget, which is a direct income support of 6,000 rupees per month to the farmer. And then we have the Kisan Credit Card Scheme, which goes for the interest subvention part, wherein agricultural loans are subsidized. There is also performance-based one wherein uh, rebated rates of interest is provided to the beneficiary as well. Then comes the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, which is adopted by different states, not all the states, with an allotment of 14,600 crores. So in this, 40% is by the center and remaining is 25 is by the state and 25 by the uh, farmer themselves. But in this, a major issue is that, the small and marginal farmers need to be integrated to this scheme, and there is huge scope for including more farmers into this particular scheme to ensure that, even if the climate change, climate vulnerabilities happen, the farmers are actually, provided the right kind of support to ensure that the insurance is provided to them. And then we also have the Pradhan Mantri Annadata Aay Sanrakshan Abhiyan and fertilizer subsidy. This particular aspect. So till now, if we look, these are all income support or kind of credit support or finance support which is there. This, however, fertilizer subsidy of 1.67 lakh crores, which is not even under the portfolio of agriculture, is actually a direct subsidy, and because of that, there has been what you call as the subsidy syndrome, and the sustainability part is actually affected. So what is subsidy syndrome? The over reliance on subsidies which discourages efficiency. One example is the distorted NPK. Urea is applied too heavily in Indian soils, and this also creates fiscal stress. And the power subsidies are another example. Free electricity they provide, but it indirectly affects the groundwater. So, the power is used for pumping water from the ground. And then fertilizer also, excessive urea use comes up, and it also degrades the soil health. And because of which the crop yield is also affected. And all this is besides the financial burden of 2.8 lakh crore from just these two things that come up. So how to address it? One way is direct benefit transfer, like direct income support, which is there. Or even if it is the input subsidy, you can provide it directly as an income to the farmer. And incentivizing sustainable practices is one way. Green credit for those who are doing micro irrigation, organic farming, or any way of conserving moisture, or any other way of doing a sustainable practice can be incentivized through green credits. So these are some of the aspects. PM Kisan is one example of direct benefits. 11 crore farmers are being benefited directly with rupees 6,000 per year per farmer. And it shows that, 70% of these beneficiaries use the, amount funds for inputs only. And this helps in improving the productivity as well. And also farmers will see it as a predictable income that they are receiving. So it reduces distress sale, which is a common feature among the farmers. And also the flexibility, sometimes when you give it as an input subsidy, optimal usage of resources might not happen. The farmer may overuse it, but when you give it as a money, farmer knows, soil testing will be done, and based on that, the correct amount of fertilizer will be done, and they can use it for multiple, aspects like storage or to pay off loans, for that matter. So this eliminates leakages. There is no middleman as fund goes directly to beneficiaries. And we also had, ICRIER has also recommended studies to have DBT models to fertilizer and power subsidies also. And also linking the PM Kisan of 6,000 rupees per year per farmer to productivity enhancement programs through technology adoption or crop diversification, provide special incentives to people, farmers, innovators who are doing this. So one another aspect beside the fiscal distress of this fertilizer use is the greenhouse gas emission, wherein agriculture is a major emitter there. So agriculture contributes to almost 18% of India's total greenhouse gas emission, primarily through methane, that comes from rice, paddy, or livestock through the enteric fermentation. Then nitrous oxide, as I told you, leaching happens, and because of urea, overuse of urea. And also the carbon dioxide emission from irrigation or mechanization that happens. So methane, nitrous oxide are the major reasons for GHG emissions from agriculture. And India is the second largest consumer of fertilizer globally, and nitrogen use efficiency because of overuse. So nitrogen is such a compound that dissolves, evaporates in the air. So even if you put more, the soil does not capture it. It just kind of evaporates into the soil, and then you will have to put again. So policies like soil health card, wherein a piece of part of soil is being tested, and a card is being provided of how much nitrogen your soil actually has, how much additional it needs. Similarly, other components need to be done. And also PM Pranam for reducing the chemical fertilizer use need to be promoted here. So what all this indicates is that to reach the Viksit Bharat 2047, to enhance productivity, to develop, to diversify, to be digitally forward, to be market oriented, export oriented, what we need to have is a resilient, inclusive, and sustainable agricultural sector. And for this, what India primarily needs to do is restructure the agricultural policy, especially some of them which are harming, especially the input-based subsidies, which are harming. And instead of that, you can go for a direct income-based one, which can be audited also, and which has a proper accountability that the particular farmer has received that and is not being overused. And the fragmented scheme needs to be all integrated into one seed to market kind of thing. So right now, as I told you, the production is dispersed, the schemes are different. Fertilizers subsidy comes from somewhere else. The agricultural value chain financing comes from somewhere else. So all these needs to be integrated, and we need to kind of look into merging all these schemes which are there. And currently there is a limited role of private sector. We need to have public-private partnership in storage, processing, R&D, and logistic. And also market linkages need to be strengthened, especially through digital parts, ENAM, through contract farming. It needs to be strengthened. Certain companies we discussed are already doing it, but this needs to be scaled up, and state level customization needs to be done. Also, we need to promote these clusters wherein the hubs are the major collection points, and different spokes kind of compile it to there to kind of collectivize it to a single output. So few way ahead that we could speak about is to replace these blanket fertilizer subsidies with smart subsidies through tagging or soil mapping and real-time usage. Also develop a carbon neutral agricultural roadmap, because by 2070 we need to be carbon neutral. And engage digital platforms. So AgriStack will be a game changer in this, because we are able to identify whose piece of land and which farmer that is, and we can provide our direct benefits to that digitally through transparent methods. It helps in a better targeted support, and also promote public-private partnership for innovation and inclusivity, and focus on nutrition-sensitive agriculture, especially millets, in terms of climate adaptation also as key future goals. And in terms of the role of CAs, for FPOs, for cooperatives, we need to have financial planning and management to enable access to finance, especially the bankable project, and to ensure compliance, especially when it comes to the export market. CSDDD will come in. So India will also need to have their own audit for this sustainability due diligence when it comes to EU. And for that, the ESG compliance is also one of major requirement there to ensure that we can tap that particular market. And also supporting agri value chain in terms of pricing models, in terms of cost benefit analysis, risk mitigation across different farm to export, how to ensure that the risk is being analyzed properly and mitigated properly, has to be audited. And here is where the professional support from your technical expertise required. And with this, I'd like to end by saying that, effective policies are not just about good intention, it's about smart designing and also robust implementation and continuous evaluation wherein audit comes into place. So thank you. That's all from my side, and I'd be happy to take up any questions that you have. I'm not able to hear you, sir. I think you're.
Thank you, Professor. It was a wonderful session. Definitely, you have touched upon most of the aspect which has been relevant not only in the earlier days but in days to come, like for a Viksit Bharat of 2047. Now, few observations that has come up from the members. Like we are a lot of talks about FPOs, talk about FPOs. So how can FPOs be made more financially robust and sustainable from an agriculture perspective?
All right. Okay, thank you. That's a very relevant question because government is trying really hard to have 10,000 FPOs by the year 27-28. And unless we integrate these farmers, we cannot have a robust value chain. And when farmers are seen as individual dispersed small farmers, we cannot, finance them limited. This comes up. So cooperatives or farmer producer organization, take Amul for example, how they did it. Even a dairy farmer with one cow could be a part of this cooperative, and all this milk would be collected, and then they would do the processing all together. So as a robust institution, they used to do it, and sustainable practices was done collectively. So that is why it came up. Otherwise, one farmer, the person may not be able to do it. So this hub and spoke model, this cluster, not just FPOs, the cluster-based FPOs need to come up, wherein you have a hub, wherein all the procedure, government also need to tap in, the private partners also need to come up, and also the FPOs need to come up. So all the facilities, the sustainability you spoke about, the finance you spoke about, once you bring them together as a unit, as a cluster, the logistic comes up, all the links of the value chain will come and integrate in one place, and then we can export it or send it to different parts of the countries. And when you work together as a group, as an FPO, your credit, what do you call it, ease of accessing credit increases, your risk reduces. So that is the advantages of bringing up an FPO. But one point we need to ensure is that forming an FPO is very easy, but to continuously make it moving is the difficult part. And this is where I would say anchor farmers or big farmers will have a role, because they'll need to take Sahyadri for example. Vilas Shinde, one person, he brought together all of them together, and from 80% of their grapes were actually kind of sent away from the market to MRL, the pesticide residue limits, minimum residue limit was crossed. But once that anchor farmer integrated them all together into an FPO, they all worked together across a SOP, standard operating practice, and they produced the standard quality which the market was requiring, the sustainability practices which were requiring. So integrating the FPOs are the solution for this. Yes.
Okay. Now we are thinking of having some capacity, designing some capacity building program for the FPOs. So definitely it will be helpful in reaching out to the FPOs and basically enlightening them about the different aspects. So making them aware about, because so this exercise that we are trying to, we are planning, and in future definitely we'll be doing that.
That would be absolutely great. Yeah.
Yeah. So one more observation is, what are the biggest point of value leakages in Indian agriculture supply chain? Leakages in the supply chain, in
supply chain, value leakages in agricultural supply chain, as in wherein the post-harvest losses happen?
Yes.
Yes. So point number one, especially when it comes to fresh fruits and vegetable, One part is that, the manual harvesting happens in most of the cases. So if we look at mango, which is a commodity, I have looked at the export potential. So when you harvest it, manually, then again, immediately your shelf life is reduced. But when you do it mechanically through machines, then when it's not human touched, then your shelf life automatically increases. So your mango does not get rot. So that is one, the practices that we do. Then the second part is about the infrastructure which is there. So when we went to Malihabad or UP part of mango, so what happens at times, the production happens so surplus. So the farmers do not have the infrastructure to store their produce. So that is one major issue in the supply chain. You need to have cold storages, or you need to have, some kind of integration wherein they can be converted to pulp and stored, so that surplus produce is not being rotten or, thrown out. So that infrastructure facility, and MOFP is doing an exercise right now to understand how much infrastructure, private and public, is there in each of these clusters. And once they identify it, they will pool in the facilities there. UP, one example, is what we gave for our study with APEDA, that you need to have infrastructure there. So these are the value chain leakages that happen in the supply chain, which needs to be infrastructure and also the practices that we do. Yes.
Okay. Now, the target that has been set up for 2047, although it's a huge target. Now, don't you think that it should be a 5-year target on continuous evaluation? And if in next 15 years, we can assess about reaching that particular target, because achieving from today, if you are assessing a target of 10% or 12%, it won't be a very realistic assessment, rather than making it in a small gap of 5 years, 10 years, then reassessing the policies, and then come up with that
absolutely 100%
figure.
100% I agree with you, sir. China has been doing that. So earlier India also used to do that. So we should be having 5-year plans, 2030. And then we need to have kind of a stock taking of where we are and what have we done and where have we lacked. And then we need to, otherwise it becomes a long-term kind of thing. And as Keynes says, in the long run, we are all dead. So we need to have medium-term or 5-year kind of, targets, which we need to assess and, continuously evaluate what has been happening. Yeah.
Because one of the study that I was just reading about in your ICRIA papers itself, because till 2050, even UN report says that our reliance on agriculture will be still very much visible. Definitely something need to be worked on, development of agriculture, like achieving certain growth level. Then only the country, as we say, that Viksit Bharat will naturally be emerging.
Yes. Currently we are at 12,000, farmers' income, and also the productivity is nowhere comparable to what the global benchmarks are. We need to get those things in our domestic value chain right in order to be a Viksit Bharat, because 46% of the rural workforce is engaged in agriculture. So unless you transform that, there is no other way to go about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you from our side. Thank you for agreeing to our request, and this session was really very interesting, and definitely will be like to engage with ICRIA in future association. Absolutely. Because definitely ICI is working in these areas, so definitely we'll work together. So
it's actually wonderful to know. Also, I, in the initial part, I discussed that there are different other teams in ICRIA as well. So if some topic, applies to you, and also for future collaboration, it would be really good, because ultimately we all are working towards the same cause.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Okay, thank you
so much, and congratulations to ICI once again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.